Madeira, Manchester, Madrid, Turin, and Manchester again. Aguero! Goal for South Africa! Goal for all Africa! Roma have risen from their ruins!
Welcome to the On a Yellow Football podcast, episode number 29. And what are we going to call this one, Zach?
World Cup prep, I guess.
World Cup prep. I mean, World Cup prep is like today and next week as well. Obviously, the cool thing, right, is our World Cup, like big World Cup episode where we're talking only and solely about the beautiful World Cup will be next episode, and that'll be episode number 30, which is really cool. A lot of things to talk about. I mean, of course, Canada played last night, the Champions League final, and we have a lot of other things to talk about that I'm excited for. So, with that being said, do you want to go right into this recap, or you
might
good?
as well.
Might as well? Okay. All right, that was a pretty good episode, actually, or a good recap, I should say. Now moving on to the actual episode, the actual podcast episode. So anybody listening, do not tune out now because we got the podcast episode, and we have a lot of things to talk about. And I'm really excited for this episode. Actually, I was texting you last night. I'm like, I am so excited for this episode. The talking points and the discussions are going to be great. The reels are going to be really cool, and it's kind of, I think, other than the Champions League final, which we will talk about very shortly. We're going to talk about Canada in this episode, and I think a lot of it is going to be, our opinions on the team, how they're playing right now, and possible people to replace, of course, Marcelo Flores due to his injury, and stuff like that. So with that being said, let's get right into it. Champions League final, Zach, what are your thoughts on that game? Obviously, PSG are two-time champions now, beating Arsenal in penalties.
Yeah, it was a boring game to watch.
Yes.
As a neutral.
Yes.
But I think, it was a pretty close game, despite how like possession and shots and things were, just considering how Arsenal plays the game generally.
Totally.
I just think that in that big of a game, you're going to want to have the ball more than 25% of the time.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I remember texting during the game, and it's just this is a really boring game. The tail of the game was PSG would attack Arsenal. Arsenal, of course, is playing defense. It makes sense, right? It's the best defense versus the best attack in the Champions League, and it was basically an attacking versus defense drill. For PSG, it was attacking almost all the time, and then Arsenal were defending. It was really boring. PSG could not get anything through Arsenal's defense because their tiki-taka based football was not working to break through the line. They kept trying to break through the middle, which didn't really work. And then, of course, Arsenal, they capitalized on PSG's mistake. And, of course, Kai Havertz, who scored in now 2 Champions League finals, scored a beautiful goal and made Arsenal lead the game 1-0. And people were like, is Arsenal going to do it? And, of course, PSG came back after the penalty decision. Now, yeah, PSG 75% possession to 25% possession Arsenal. They had 21 shots during that game, 4 on target. Arsenal only had 7. But the biggest thing for me would be PSG had 889 passes to Arsenal's 285. It was very boring. And I don't know. I think throughout the whole game, Arsenal was playing for penalties, especially when it came to when PSG tied it. They were playing for penalties. They were playing to keep into the game, even in extra time. It seemed like they wanted penalties, and they got their wish, and the penalty situations wasn't great. There's 2 guys that lined up. Eze, of course, missed his, but the weird thing is in sudden death, center back Gabriel was one of the people chosen. What's your thoughts on that? Do you think he should have been chosen?
I mean, supposedly he decided to step up himself, or he was picked by by purpose.
Yeah.
And They've said he never misses penalties in practice, and he decided to go with a no-look penalty
Well, yeah,
in the biggest game of his career and skied it over the net.
I called it. I was talking to some people I was watching the match with. I'm like, he's going to sky it. I know exactly what he's going to do. He's going to do a little like shuffle step and he's going to hit it. And most of the time, center backs, they sky it. I've seen so much penalty shootouts. And every time a center back comes on, other than like Harry Maguire, a lot of the time it's not slotted in and it's absolutely skied or it's missed or it's just a poor shot. And I mean, Eze's shot was poor as well.
I'm not sure what he was trying to do.
Me neither.
He did too much.
A lot of those guys, like, they did too much. They did, like, shuffle steps. They shuffled to the side. Like,
Well, it's like Eze, he did his shuffle step, then he did like a slow step,
Yes.
and then he shuffle stepped again, and then just like curled it way wide.
but what it does is it just gets you completely off guard. Like, you're not ready to shoot your penalty, and that is what was shown. And, of course, he missed. I think PSG took their shots well, but I think it was really Arsenal missing. I mean, you never really want the game to go to penalties. I think that's the thing. But I think this game, especially of how it was going, was leading to a penalty shootout. And, I mean, we can talk about, like, the standout players, in my opinion. I'll start with one of the standout players for me, and that was Vitinha. He got the MVP of that match. He had 4 shots. Some of them were, like, way above the net, but he was still making the initiative to shoot. But I just think he's always been a standout for that PSG side, and the crazy thing is that he played for Wolves a couple of years ago, and now he's winning back-to-back Champions Leagues, but he's an absolutely impeccable player. He played 105 minutes, and he had a 94% pass accuracy, which is absolutely crazy. He made 13 passes into the final third. I just think his ability on the ball is what makes him a great and fantastic asset to PSG. He is so good on the ball. I mean, with the amount of touches that he did, he had the most touches out of anybody in this game, 162. They really use him a lot in that midfield, and that's why he's the facilitator. He controls the pace of the game, and he's really, really good. I mean, PSG, they play this really fluid game, and I think Vitinha is involved in that. Vitinha at some points was up in striker position due to the fluidity of the PSG side. Kavicha Kvaratskhelia, of course, plays the winger position, but he sometimes coasts into the midfield or coasts into the striker position. The Cam and Vitinha, or the midfield and Vitinha and Ousmane Dembele, they move in a fluid design, as well as Desiree Doué, who comes in. And I think that just shows why they're such a good team. But Vitinha, for me, was the standout.
I'm going to go with an Arsenal player this time, and Declan Rice. He played all 120 minutes, plus took a penalty in this game. And I think he was by far, the player that looked the most up to it on the Arsenal team in that game. Playing the entire game, creating 2 chances for them to try and break in there.
Taking all of the free kicks.
He had 60 touches, 9 passes into the final third. He was the offense creator for them in this game. He was the one that was trying to convert, the relentless PSG pressure on them and try and create some sort of counterattack. With the way that he plays the game, and he's so solid with the ball, so he can drive really far, and then he can make an accurate pass, which he's also incredibly good at. And even, in the defensive part of the game, he had 9 contributions in that. 4 tackles, multiple clearances. I think it was a performance that really proves that he is, one of the best midfielders in the world, and formerly of West Ham.
Exactly. I think, he facilitated that team for Arsenal, and he was a stand-up for me as well. I think another stand-up for me for Arsenal would be their goaltender, David Raya. He played an impeccable game, in my opinion. I think it could have been PSG winning in normal time before extra time if it wasn't for Raya. He made some key saves. I mean, this has kind of been the story for Arsenal all season. Raya has been impeccable. Obviously, Golden Glove winner in the Premier League for the most clean sheets. But I think the thing I love about Raya more than a lot of other goaltenders is he's a very old school type goaltender, especially this game. He wasn't afraid to get his hands on the ball. A lot of goaltenders are very hesitant now and they lead with their feet rather than their hands and their head. But he went into it right with his hands and tried to grab that ball, especially when the PSG rushed. And I think that was really important for Arsenal because it kept Arsenal structured and ready to get another PSG attack. But it also, I think, knowing you have a good goaltender behind you makes you more confident as a team to do things that are a little bit outside the box. And I think that's what Arsenal really valued, especially this season. And I think during the game he played well as well. But I just think PSG are such a strong opponent, and it's just really hard for any team to beat them. I mean, they beat Bayern Munich, which I think was the team that could have beat the PSG in a final moment, especially due to Kane's brilliance this season.
Raya obviously had the penalty save.
Yes.
Whereas, Safonov got the two misses. Yeah. And I think, it was a pretty good save. I think not the greatest shot either.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, he stepped up when they needed him. He made that save for them after Eze missed that penalty to keep them, even in the shootout. And I think, that's a big moment in itself.
Mm-hmm.
And, he's obviously a very good goalkeeper, and he's proved that with how many clean sheets he has in the Premier League this season.
Exactly. I mean, how about letdowns? Is there any letdowns that you saw during that game that you thought would have done better? I have one guy in mind.
Bukayo Saka?
I mean, yeah.
I think, the biggest game of his career, he gets subbed off. He doesn't play the entire game, gets a yellow card. He doesn't really do much of anything in that match.
I mean, yeah, I put a stat here. He had 0 goals, 0 assists, 26 touches, 0 successful dribbles. And I think he
only tried 8 passes.
Yeah.
Only 4 were accurate.
And he had I don't think he had 0 shots.
And he didn't do anything in the defense either.
No.
Like, this guy was just running around.
He was a ghost out there.
Yeah. And, when you have a player like that on your team where, you kind of expect that kind of player to be there in the big moments.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen so many videos before the final saying that Arsenal has those big moment players and then listing Bukayo Saka there.
I think really the big moment player that they have is Kai Havertz.
And
he's shown more.
Posting a 6.1 match rating and doing, I think that's the lowest on the entire team.
Yeah.
Apart from maybe some guys that came off the bench. But, it's not what you would want from your star boy.
Especially if you put him on
if
you put him on such a high pedestal, you want him to do better. And I mean, this season, to be fair, he's had he's in the league this season. He's played 31 matches. He's had 7 goals and 5 assists. So I mean, he's a decent player, but he's not the greatest of all time.
I don't understand how his market value is still 95
His
million.
market value is still insanely high, and to be honest, I think Nani Madueke played a better game, but he got subbed on.
I think he
was more dynamic. I mean,
he caused more trouble for
exactly.
the other team when he was on the pitch.
With his speed, and I mean, he could have gotten a penalty given to him, but obviously there wasn't a lot in it. But again, caused enough trouble for his side. So, and for PSG, that could have been a call that could happen. Now, on the PSG side, I think Kavica Kvaratskhelia didn't play to the pedestal that he played during other matches in Champions League.
I find it weird how Ruiz started this game. I'm not sure why he started over Zaire Emery. I think they maybe would have had a little bit more luck on that side if they had Zaire Emery as a little bit more of a creative player. I think that whole side kind of struggled. I think even in Nuno Mendes, I think, was not that good in this game.
No, comparatively to how he's been this season, he struggled against Madueke actually would have been the one, I believe, would have been against him.
Yeah,
So
he didn't have the game you would expect him
Yeah.
to have either in that kind of,
Mhm.
as being known as, the best left back in the world.
yeah.
You'd want maybe a little bit more of a world-class performance.
Yeah, I think he was caught out a little bit sometimes and had to do a little bit extra to get that ball back or to get back into position. Kavicha on that left side as well. I think he did too much at the ball with his feet, and it just got caught out. Like, Arsenal's back line is so good, you have to look for exploits, and dribbling might not be that because of how good their defenders are. I think the one thing he had going for him, though, is they had Mascara starting due to Urian Timber not being 100% until he came on as a sub. He's good, but I think, Mascara didn't do great, and it's hard to get a player that is a bench right back in a Champions League final against one of the best wingers in the world right now, obviously getting the Champions League MVP.
Well, I mean, he also conceded the penalty.
Exactly. And I think, Kavicha, that was a good part of Kavicha. Like, he was good enough to concede that penalty. But I think, I would want more from him, like getting a goal or being getting a lot of touches, being that guy that's extremely dangerous when he gets the ball. I mean, you could say the same thing by, I think, older forwards. I think PSG couldn't exploit their back line.
I mean, Dembele never really looked up to it in the game until he scored the
exactly.
penalty. I think that really saved his match rating.
I think the penalty saved PSG, like the penalty decision, because they were not looking great in that first half. And they just weren't, they just could not exploit through the football that they used Arsenal's back line. I think Arsenal did a great job in the sense of conserving their lead before the penalty, but just also conserving the amount of PSG players in the onslaught that the PSG had against them. I think they did a fantastic job with that and maintaining kind of the draw there. But I think the problem is the forwards that we thought, the best attack in the Champions League, you got Kvicha, Kvaratskhelia, Desiree Doué, you also got Ousmane Dembele, and then Bradley Barcola came on for Kvicha. They didn't really look up to it. I think Bradley Barcola had a little bit of his speed, I think, against the tired opposition, worked very well. But again, I don't think any of them really had that much chances, and chances that were high percentage. So I think, definitely that penalty saved them. But again, I think Arsenal were looking for penalties at the end of the game, and they got their wish, and of course they lost.
I mean, doesn't matter how many wins and losses you have, how many goals you concede when you don't win the big one. So
Exactly.
it's good defense, sure. They have a team, that could go back.
Yep.
I think it's just they have to be bigger in the big moment.
Exactly. No other team has played more matches in the Champions League without winning a trophy. Arsenal have played 226 Champions League games without winning a trophy. No other team has done that. So it's just, I think with Arsenal, it's another thing. I think Arsenal, they've won the league, and that's a big plus for them as a team. But the Champions League is another thing they want. They've never won it before, right? They've won the league before. Obviously, they didn't win it in 20 years, and they finally won it again. But they haven't won the Champions League, and that's eluded them since 2006, right? Since 20 years ago, it's eluded them. They lost against Barcelona, and they wanted to come back to it, and they've come back to it against a really good side again. And the side I think that should have won was PSG, and they did. I just think the fashion that PSG won it was something that we weren't thinking. We were thinking that PSG, obviously, were playing against a defensive side, and it would have been a cagey affair, but we would have thought that PSG would have found a way to exploit using their forwards and getting a chance and winning the game before penalties, before extra time. But they didn't. I just think, I think PSG were frustrated for a majority of the game, and they looked frustrated. They were making bad tackles. Nuno Mendes made a couple woeful tackles and got a yellow card for it. And I think, they were a bit angry, but they found a way in the end, like champions do, to win the game. And I think, I like you said, like, it doesn't matter how much games you win, how much games, getting first in the league phase, if you do not win the big trophy in the final. And it kind of all goes down to that final. You can say, oh yeah, we did well throughout, beating some really good teams, but in that final game, you couldn't win. You're not going to be viewed as highly as the team that wins, even though the team that wins might have not had the better tournament than you, right? Now, moving on, let's go right into the Canada discussion, because obviously Canada, they played Uzbekistan last night, and there's a lot of concerns as well as positives. Like, there's some positives, especially in the second half, but some concerns coming out of the first half and the game as a whole. Do you want to start with the concerns? Probably. I mean, that makes sense. I'm concerned with Canada's backline. Cornelius and Bombito did not look 100%. They haven't played a lot of games for their respective teams, Nice and Rangers, since being injured. They came back. I mean, I agree with a lot of people are saying, like, this Canada lineup that started the first half is basically our starting 11 for the World Cup, or you would think it would be. And now I don't think it would be.
The only two defenders we have, I guess not defenders, but I mean, we can go broadly defenders too if you want. The only ones that have been healthy this season is Nico Sigurd, Joel Waterman, Luc de Forgerols, and that's it. Three of our defenders have been healthy the entire season. Larea's been out with injury recently. Davies has been out. Bombito's missed the entire year. Cornelius has missed a ton of games. Alfie Jones has missed a ton of games. And Alistair Johnson's missed a ton of games. So I think, there is the worry that, they aren't healthy. And, they definitely aren't up to match fitness, a lot of them. Especially Moise Bombito. He hasn't played since, October.
He was very rusty in that game. He caught himself, out of position some moments and had to race back. And he was just slow, and he wasn't that player that we know him to be. And obviously, he was going to play the 45 minutes, and
that's not necessarily true. Because they did say that the substitution was planned.
They did say the substitution was planned, but he was planned to do the 45, and he went off after 35 minutes. And he went off limping, and apparently it's not a new injury, but again, you go off limping with ice pack on your leg. I mean, there's concerns there. Good news that it's not a new injury per se, but again, that doesn't demonstrate match fitness to me. So
I do think Cornelius was pretty good. I think he was one of our best players when he was on the pitch.
I think Luc de Forgerols is probably played was our best center back that game. He saved Alfie Jones in some moments where Alfie Jones got caught out, and I think he played a very strong performance. He's 20 years of age, but he's playing very calm and confident, and I think that he could possibly be one of our starting center backs, especially for the Bosnia and Herzegovina game.
I mean, I was kind of surprised that Ali Ahmed didn't feature.
No.
I mean, he obviously did pick up an injury.
Yeah.
He was there the end of the year, but I'm surprised he wasn't one of the subs that got used.
Yeah.
But I mean, fair play. I think, the wingers that we did use did
their job
fine.
Yeah.
I think the best winger in that game was Jaden Nelson, obviously scoring.
I think Liam Miller also had an impact as well. He tried a lot of things. He was good on the ball. I think, going back to the whole Flores situation, because obviously Flores is now injured, ACL completely gone. He posted on his Instagram story, obviously after the CONCACAF Champions final, where
he posted a day after.
Yeah, where his team lost against his team Tigres lost against who? Some other Mexican side I forgot the name of.
Yeah,
but
to Luka, maybe?
something like that. But he's out now, and it's really sad. Obviously, getting that call up and that name, and everyone's happy for him. His parents are happy for him, everything like that. And you get that big loss of getting injured and not going to be able to feature. I mean, he has time. Obviously, the next World Cup, he'll probably be available and stuff like that. But again, you get called up for the World Cup, you get that high, and then you lose that by getting injured. And now that opens up a spot on the team. Who is going to get that spot? We kind of put it down to two people, and that's Jaden Nelson or Ralph Priso. I think it should be Ralph Priso, due to the fact we need like defense. We need to get people that can play. Like, we already have depth in that left wing position. So Jaden Nelson doesn't really, for me, like, he was good. But again, it's like, is that a one-game wonder situation? Did he play well that one game, right? I think Ralph Priso also played well when he came on. I just think that, we need versatility. Ralph Priso can play center back. He can play fullback. And, he is that guy, I think, that could be an asset to our team. We need another center back, right? We don't know if Cornelius and Bombito are 100% healthy. I think that Priso's better than Waterman. And I think that, he could be an asset to us. Obviously now Davies, we don't know about his situation. He said that in the press conference that, that he wants to play and he's feeling pretty good. Obviously he had a light jog during the game or before the game.
But he did say that game one's probably off the cards.
Yeah. So with that being said, maybe Larea is healthy, plays there, but getting
Larea is not healthy though. That's the
exactly.
issue.
So get Ralph Priso, who's healthy. He can play left back.
Play left back.
He can play left back. He's versatile.
We could try him there. He's never played fullback before though.
He has.
Not according to his profile.
Yeah.
He's played center back, center mid, and defensive mid.
Oh. Well, I mean, he's versatile though. You know what I mean?
I mean,
we can try him there. He's done it in Canada.
Try him.
On Canada, we've played him there. And then, of course, I think he got injured, and then we just didn't play him. But we started him left back. Or I don't know, we started him center back. But, I mean, he's versatile. We can play him in situations that we need him. I think mainly it's the center back position that bothers me. Like, I think that, Priso could be an option. Jaden Nelson, though, too, he was electric during that game. But again, I'm always thinking, we got Liam Miller. We got Tajon Buchanan, who can play both sides. We got Ali Ahmed, who can play both sides. And we also have Schaffelberg as well. We have all these people that we're bringing up to this squad.
Where was Schaffelberg?
Schaffelberg is playing for Nashville.
Well, no. Why didn't he play? That's my question.
Yeah. No, I don't know. He was on the bench, I think. No?
He wasn't even part of the squad.
Oh. Well, he's on the squad, but he's barely played that much games either because of injury. But again, if you think about it, he is the guy that they brought up. And I think, winger-wise, we have so much wingers. So, I mean, we need it.
I'm going to say if it was up to me,
Yeah.
I would replace Schaffelberg with Nelson.
Yeah.
Just because I think, Schaffelberg, sure.
I think it's because of his...
He's fine.
It's because he's played for Canada in a tournament before. I think that's the reason.
I just think Jaden Nelson's a little bit more of
I think he's electric.
Attacking presence when he's on the field. So
I think his shooting is impeccable. Obviously, he took that goal very well, and his intensity is there. And I think Marsh is leaning towards replacing Flores with a Flores type player in the sense of getting a winger and in that position. So maybe Ralph Priso doesn't come, but again, with Moise Bombito not looking 100%, does Priso get called up just so we're safe in the sense of if Moise Bombito is not healthy, then we have another center back I think is really good.
Well, I don't think we need 5 wingers.
That's what I mean.
I mean, we have 4 strikers on the team, which, is probably fine just because, we play a 2 at the front kind of system. we have 5 wingers currently, including Marcelo Flores, because he's still on the roster at the moment. And if you're replacing that guy with another winger, I feel like we don't need that many wingers. Especially when you have players on the team like Jonathan Osorio, Richie Larea. I mean, even Alphonso Davies, if you want, he can play wing.
And people are thinking he might play up.
So I think the players that we have in the team suggest that maybe we need a little bit more help in the midfield and defense. So I think
Which is
I would
Priso.
lean towards Priso, especially with how he got a spot in the squad in the games against Tunisia and Iceland.
Yep.
Whereas Jaden Nelson, I don't think was in that team.
No.
So I think obviously Ralph Priso is a little bit farther ahead in terms of, where Jesse Marsh sees the two players.
Yes.
I think I'm pretty sure they're both the same age as well. So I think in terms of bigger need, I think the need for a defender or midfielder, is a little bit higher, just with the health of the defense that we do have.
Yeah. No, totally. I mean, he came on in the Uzbekistan game, Priso, and he had 84% accurate passes, 48 touches, 8 into the final third, and he made 5 interceptions and won 3 out of 4 of his ground duels. He had a very good display. I mean, the 48 touches, so not being scared to touch that ball, and also 8 touches into the final third, he brought it up, and the 5 interceptions I think was really good. Intercepting Uzbekistan's attack. Now, I think the tale of this game was Uzbekistan missed a lot of their chances that they could have scored, and it could have been a different game. I think I'm happy that we scored goals in open play this time. It's more interesting to watch, and it's just really good to see our team scoring. I think Jaden Nelson scoring a goal from open play is something that could get him a spot on the national team due to the fact that he's actually scoring goals. And I think that situation is something that I think we're going to talk about. Now, goalkeeper situation. Who's starting? I think Crepeau gets the start now after his display.
Well, I mean, he actually had to make a save, but I think, we played pretty poorly in the first half, and that made it so we had to have him play well.
Yeah,
Whereas Dane St. Clair came in and didn't have any work.
Dane St. Clair might start next game against Ireland.
So,
and then Crepeau comes in the second half.
I don't think he said whether or not they're going 50-50 on that game, too. I think he's going to pick a starter for that game and play them the whole game. I mean, maybe he goes 50-50 again because he's unsure. I just think that,
he says he's making the decision later this week.
In a Canada shirt, I do think that Crepeau, he's played in bigger games for us. Obviously played in the Copa America. And I think, he was a big reason we got into that, 4th place or 3rd place spot, I think.
Yes.
Did we finish 3rd?
2nd.
No, we didn't make it to the final.
Well, we made it in the knockout stages, 3rd. But we lost against Argentina because we had to play them twice. We played them in our group, and then we had to play them in the knockouts as well. But Crepeau was a reason why that game wasn't a crazy scoreline, and it was a close game.
Oh yeah, we lost. We finished 4th,
yes.
losing on penalties to Uruguay.
Yes,
and that was a painful game.
Mm-hmm. But Crepeau, I think, is the guy. I think Crepeau is. They're similar in skill level between Crepeau and Dane St. Clair, and similar in their performances in the MLS, and they're similar apparently faces in the dressing room and personalities. But I think Crepeau gets the start due to the fact that he's played in big games for Canada, and I think he's been very composed, very good. I think it's really a hard decision for Jesse Marsh because both of them are very similar. And I think either one you pick is not going to be necessarily the worst option. So I think it's fine. I think Crepeau is the guy right now that cemented his space. But again, you talk about it, he cemented his space this game, but it was because Canada was playing bad, and he, of course, made his saves that he was supposed to. he made some very good saves. I like his intensity. I like when he comes out, and I think he's a very good player. But again, I think anybody would say Dane St. Clair is also a good player, and he could also be someone that can get in. So I think really it's just a tale of pick one. Like, I think both of them have played very well and deserve a spot. So I think either one's not going to necessarily be the worst option. So striker situation now. We got, of course, we play a 4-4-2 striker formation. I have one statement, and I think Larin should not be starting alongside David. I think Larin is a great striker. He's had form, but I think we need to go beyond goals for your respective domestic teams and go more of who plays well together. Promise David came on and he scored a goal. Obviously, it was called off for offside, but he automatically scored an open play goal. No other striker in our team has done that for a while now.
I think it's far-fetched to assume that he can start already, though.
Yeah, that's the thing, right?
You know, that was his first game back after tearing his hip.
So you have to be careful on that, right?
So, like, I don't think even, he is at full health.
No.
So, I think...
I mean, based off of the other guys that we have, I think Larin is the best option.
I mean...
I just think that he doesn't work well in a two-striker formation.
Tani Oluwaseyi got 2 assists in the game.
I think if Tani Oluwaseyi, I was thinking about this, if Tani Oluwaseyi plays, I think we should be playing a 4-4-1-1, where Tani Oluwaseyi plays more in the midfield, and we have a striker up top. I think that would work really well for Larin and even Jonathan David. Larin especially. So Southampton, they play a one-striker formation, and he's played very well in that one-striker formation. He's a guy that I've noticed that is really good being the lone striker, being the target man. But in a two-striker formation where you have to work off with the other striker, I think Larin is not the best option. I think honestly, if you're talking about a two-striker formation where Promise David isn't 100% healthy, I think Tani Oluwaseyi, due to his passing ability, could be that guy. I think Tani Oluwaseyi, the only thing that really he lacks is a finishing ability. He gets into the right places. He's always in the right place, it seems. He always gets the ball in perfect opportunities, but he cannot finish the goals that we need. And I think in a two-striker formation, Larin lacks in his ability to link up with the other striker, but he doesn't lack in his finishing ability that we know he has based off of scoring what is 8 goals now and 1 assist in 16 games for his side. I just think, I don't know. It's hard to say because I think Promise David is our best guy that we said. But like you said, yeah, I agree. Is he 100% healthy, right?
No.
Yeah.
And,
like,
if Larin had the ability to get into open spaces the way that, our other strikers do, he just doesn't. And that makes him, not work too well unless he's the guy being fed the passes.
Yep.
And he can't really create a chance on his own the same way any of our other strikers or even attackers can, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's difficult because, Jesse Marsch is not going away from the two-striker formation unless things go absolutely direly wrong. It's the formation he's played since he came in. He hasn't changed it the entire time he's been here. So I think, maybe he goes and makes a call-up that nobody sees and brings Jebison in, even though he wasn't there for this game. He probably won't be there for the next one.
Mm-hmm.
And he sees the strikers that we have and decides, we need another striker. But I don't think that would either fix anything either. So I think we just have to go with who is, giving the best results for Canada. And that would be Tani Oluwaseyi.
Yep.
He created both goals.
Exactly.
He got assists on both goals. He created many more chances. And, he had shots on net. He got into the right spots. I think, with a little bit of confidence, potentially, some more time in training, if he can find that finishing touch, he can be a top striker.
Yeah, I believe it too. I think he's very versatile. He's a very strong player. And I think, it's just his finishing ability that lacks. Like, he gets into the right places, like I said, but he assists on both those goals. He plays a little bit deeper, maybe closer to the midfield while he's in the formation. So, like, kind of like a 4-4-1-1. Now, Jonathan David, I think he's been poor. We can talk about all of our other players, but Jonathan David's been the one player, he's not been injured. He's been playing for Team Canada, but he hasn't really done much. He hasn't really had a moment where he gets the ball and everyone's like, oh, yeah, he's scoring. Like he did while I think the Copa America was a big kind of thing for Jonathan David, as well as the World Cup qualifiers for 2022. But Jonathan David right now, in my opinion, has just been absent. He hasn't done much, right?
I mean, it's difficult to say because he's not really getting minutes at Juventus the way he would want.
Mm-hmm.
So he's not in the form we would expect him to be.
Yes.
When he was at Lille, he was their guy.
Exactly.
And the move to Juventus, I don't think panned out the way we expected it to.
No.
I don't think it was necessarily the best option on the table in that summer.
Yep.
I think going to a team that already had multiple strikers that they could play was not the best decision, because now it's already like rumors that they're offering him on loan to multiple teams this summer. So I think we'll see him in a new spot again next season, and hopefully that's a better spell. It's just Jonathan David is Canada.
Exactly.
He played 70 minutes. He created the most chances in the match as well, supposedly. And he didn't have the greatest game in terms of, putting shots on net or anything like that. It's just, I think he's in like a weird spot right now where he's going to be starting, obviously.
Yep. You have to start him.
He's the all-time leading goal scorer for Team Canada.
Yep.
So I think, if you can get him into the right system with the right partner, he will score goals again.
Exactly.
I think, where Kyle Larin is better in a single striker formation, I think at this point in David's career, he's a little bit better when he has, a proper partner up there with him.
Mm-hmm.
Someone that, can lay him the ball, he can pass the ball there. And it gives him a little bit more of an option when he's at the front. He doesn't have to be the only one with the pressure of scoring goals, especially with, how his form is right now.
Exactly. He's a technically gifted footballer, very good with the ball, very good with his feet, and you saw that. He creates chances, right? But I think, he's very good with a two-striker formation. I think, it's just that second striker other than Jonathan David needs to produce, right? Whether that is Oluwaseyi, whether that's Larin, I think they need to be able to finish the chances of David setting them up and vice versa. I think David, he's a mainstay. You're not gonna take him out. I don't think that is even thought of, right? He is the main man, like you said, he is the Canadian national team when it comes to goal scoring, and he is our guy, right? But I think that, that second striker is pivotal in Canada's success. Whether that's Larin, whether that's Oluwaseyi, whether that's David, they need to do well because Jonathan David is he's automatically going to be there. I think Tani Oluwaseyi, like we said, I think he is the guy that goes there. Not necessarily because of his finishing ability, because I think on the national team it's been lackluster, but because of his passing ability, his ability to link up the strikers. I felt like through all the games, especially our last couple friendlies, so against Iceland and against not Morocco, Algeria. Was it Morocco? Oh, Tunisia, sorry, Tunisia. Iceland, Tunisia, and against Uzbekistan here. I think that we lacked in the link-up play between the strikers. I find the 4-4-2 formation a very good formation, but again, we have good wing play. But I I just think that we lacked kind of in the finishing department. Now, one thing I would say about the strikers that we lack, and I've said it before, is when you have a 4-4-2 formation, we rely heavily on wing play. We have a lot of really good wingers in our team, very talented wingers. But every time they cross the ball in, there is no one that is getting and attacking that ball and being able to really utilize that wing play, right? We don't have a Harry Kane type striker right now that's healthy. I mean, Promise David can be that guy. He's tall, he's built like a beast, and he is really like physically fit and good, but we don't know if he's 100%, right? You know, we're missing that striker that can attack that. I think Jonathan David can on his day, but right now I think we're missing that because every time I saw we would cross the ball in, it would be a beautiful cross in, but nobody was there to attack it and make danger of that chance. And I think if we're relying on wing play and not on, cutbacks, we need our strikers to step up and be those guys in the box to, give it to me and I'm going to head that ball and make a play, right? We understand that headers are extremely important for our team, especially due to the fact that we're crossing the ball a lot. So we need to get people that can attack that ball.
Well, I mean, across our 4 strikers, 3 played in the Champions League, 21 games combined, and 6 goals, as well as one assist from Jonathan David.
Yep.
So, I mean, we do have players that have played in big competitions.
Yep.
I think they all did decently well. Those aren't incredible numbers by any means, but they're not bad numbers, and those are numbers that you can grow on from year to year. And I think they're in good spots in their career where they can, really, really have a big jump from this World Cup to the next one as well. It's such a young team.
Yeah.
And so many players that haven't gotten the big move yet necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
I think players like Marcelo Flores, Ralph Priso, Nathan Saliba.
Yep.
I mean, even Ismail Kone, they have the potential to make a big move.
Mm-hmm.
And defender-wise too, with Nico Segur and Luke the Forger Rolls, I think we have players that are young and are hungry in this World Cup. And, building just experience in the World Cup in general is huge, especially for a young player. I'm not sure who the youngest on the team is. I think it probably is Luke the Forger Rolls. Going to the World Cup, he was with the team, I'm pretty sure, at the Gold Cup too. And also Copa America, I think. Maybe not Copa America.
I don't think Copa America. I think he signed after.
But he's one of those players that played for the under 20 team for Team Canada, and now he's progressing through the system, and he's one of the first players that is really coming through in that project, and I think one of the young players that I look forward to the most, especially with the health of defenders on our team, even in the long term. How does Moise Bombito, how does he pan out after that injury? Is it the same, or is he going to be a permanently different player just because of how much time he missed and how extensive the injury was?
Exactly. I mean, when you break your tibia, that's a very extensive injury, and it's an injury that you need a ton of rehab for, an extremely painful injury as well. And you just think, does he have the legs anymore? Even though he is only, 25 years of age? He's an extremely good footballer. Last season, he played very well for Nice, and now, obviously being injured. I think, the great thing about our team is there's finally a pathway for Canadian footballers to get to the national team, to get to Europe, to get to big top MLS sides. And I think it just shows how good our system is becoming. I mean, let's say, even 2018, I think anything other than the 2022 World Cup before then, there was really not a big pathway. Not a lot of players broke out into the MLS and broke out into into Europe. And now I think you look at our team, a lot of our players are playing in Europe, especially the starting 11, which is extremely strong. And they're all really young. Fulgerals, his ceiling is insanely high, but Kone as well. Kone, when he was playing in the first half, I think was one of the best players, in my opinion, during that first half. One of the standouts. He plays with that calm confidence. He's very young, but he's playing for an Italian side, Sassuolo. And, he's doing decent for them. But I think for the Canadian national team, he's proved a lot. He's proved that he's good. I mean, he had that really, really nice nutmeg during the game. And I think, you need a guy that's able to play in those pressured situations. You need a guy that can play under pressure, especially in the World Cup, right? Jesse Marsh's system works very well when the opposition is a high press, pressing extensively, right? Because it's a very defensive formation. And you need people in that lineup that can be good in those pressured situations, that can play under pressure. And, a young player like Kone to be able to do that now is extremely valuable. Now, for the midfield situation, right, we got Eustachio, we got Kone, and we got Osorio even. Do you think Osorio is gonna get a start over a Kone or over an Eustachio due to the fact that Osorio kind of brings this veteran presence to the side, obviously being the second most capped Canadian player in history under Atiba Hutchinson? Do you think he gets a start?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe last World Cup he would get the start, but I think, now with, the players that we have, I think even a player like Nathan Saliba is better.
Yes.
So I think, he's a good player for us, in terms of depth options. I just think that, our best three midfielders would be Ismail Kone, Stefan Eustachio, and Nathan Saliba.
Yeah, totally.
And then
Osorio just kind of gets
toss-up
trickled
between Sean Ray and Osorio in my opinion. Yeah, I think they're pretty close in terms of
output.
The player themselves.
Yes,
I think
totally.
They're very similar players. I mean, Sean Ray, I can't remember. I can't say his name. I can't say his name. He's 6 years younger, but I think neither one really has any edge on any of the other midfielders in the team.
I'm excited to see Nathan Saliba play, actually. When he's played, I do like his game. He's a taller midfielder, and he's more of a built midfielder compared to our other ones. And I think he's also a type of player that's young, but also really good in those pressured situations. I mean, he plays in Belgium. He plays in a league that, in Europe that, of course, is people like to pressure and they like to do full pressure against you. And again, it's a really strong league. Like the Belgian league is one of the best leagues in Europe, outside of the top 5 leagues, right? And he's playing there, and I think Canada needs players that play in Europe on their team. I think Europe is a completely different game. It's a game that it's the best leagues to play in is in Europe, right? And Nathan Saliba, I think, is going to be a really exciting player. I don't necessarily think Nathan Saliba is going to start over a Kone or an Eustachio. I think Kone and Eustachio are going to be our two guys. Both played in Europe or playing in Europe right now. Obviously, Eustachio's on loan from Porto, but he's going to go back to Porto for the last season on his contract. I think that they're going to be a team to... I think the midfield is definitely getting better than it was before. I don't know. Are you excited for any player in particular?
I mean, I've always liked Nico Segur.
Yes.
I think, he's been pretty good when he's, played for us. I mean, I would like to see Owen Goodman potentially, get a start at some point, Obviously he's not getting one until after the World Cup, I think. But, the goalies we have, Dane St. Clair's 29 and Maxime Crepeau is 32. I think Owen Goodman will probably be the starter for the next World Cup. I think barring somebody else breaking out of nowhere.
Yes, totally.
I mean, we have a couple guys in Europe that could do that. I
Yep.
just don't see it happening, and I don't really see anybody on our under-20 team becoming the starter in 4 years from now.
For like goalkeepers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we have Georgi Swiderski, who plays in Spain, and a couple guys that play in academies over there. Tom McGill, maybe, but I think he's like 25, plays like for Brighton, maybe.
Yeah.
I think he's like a backup goalie for
got-
Brighton.
Well, goalkeepers aside, we got Babishkov that could possibly break in through the national team.
I mean,
But that's if he gets a move outside of where he's playing.
he's playing in the CPL now, so I
yeah.
think he needs to get another move. I mean, I don't think he's necessarily a player for the next World Cup even. He'd only be 22
Yeah, he's
at the
still
next World Cup.
extremely
He'd still
young.
be really young. I don't think feel like the strikers will be fairly similar. I think the only maybe difference would be like one of Bim Pebble or
Yeah.
Gillison, sneaking in. Maybe depends on how Taniolo Ashai's career goes after the World Cup too. I think we have young players in Europe that can make the jump for the next World Cup. And it feels weird talking about the next World Cup
Yeah.
before this one's even started, obviously. But, I mean, you obviously want to be building forward every time.
Yeah.
And, we have the young players in the team and young players that didn't make the team that I think will be big-time players.
Exactly. Exciting things for sure. All right, Zach, I'm going to end the podcast episode here. Can you do your sign-off, please?
Bonjour, au revoir, and have a great rest of your week.
See you later, guys.